I counted the cost before I started. I wanted to be free before I died. If I should be caught on the way to Canada and taken back, it could but be death, and I might as well die with the colic as the fever. I expected to be pursued as a felon, as I had been before, and to be hunted as a fox from mountain to cave. I well knew if I continued much longer with Clay that I should be killed by such floggings and abuse by his cruel overseer in my old age. Dear brethren, I am truly happy to meet with you on British soil, where I am not known by the color of my skin, but where the government knows me as a man. It has been said by some that Clay's slave had rather live with him than be free, but I had rather this day have a millstone tied to my neck and be sunk to the bottom of Detroit River than to go back to Ashland and be his slave for life.
Enslavers often thought they were treating the people they enslaved wonderfully, no matter how domineering and cruel they truly were.
Yet he has said publicly his slaves were fat and slick. But I say, if they are, it is not because they are so well used by him. They have nothing but coarse bread and meat to eat, and not enough of that. As late as December 1845, Henry Clay had me stripped and tied up, and 150 lashes given me on my naked back. The crime for which I was so abused was I failed to return home on a visit to see my wife on Monday morning before 5 o'clock.
Lewis was born into slavery to the Russell family, who were good friends with the Clays. When the son, Thomas A. Russell, started farming on his own, Lewis was gifted to him, since they had grown up together. According to Russell, in 1824, Lewis made an attempt to drown Russell in a mill pond of North Elkhorn. Russell then sold Lewis to the South, where Lewis reportedly stabbed and killed his overseer in Louisiana. Instead of being killed in punishment, Lewis was sold to a Missouri trader and ended up with Colonel Russell, Thomas Russell's brother. Thomas Russell was then convinced by his brother to bring Lewis back to Kentucky. Later, Colonel Russell sold Lewis to Henry Clay, where Lewis worked butchering hogs for 9 years. These stories may or may not be true, but they were told nonetheless by associates and friends of Henry Clay to paint him in a better light. In that time in history, the law and society would believe a white man over a black man every time. While the stories are hearsay, people would understand and believe the narratives told by the white men, the friends of Henry Clay, as the truth. Like many enslaved people, Lewis Richardson actively fought his enslavement. He fought both verbally and physically, oftentimes only receiving more punishment as a result. With this, he developed a reputation as a drunken and violent man. He actively fought against his oppressors throughout his life. While others chose paths of resistance, he chose actions. Whether it was passive or aggressive, their choices show their agencies in making decisions about their lives. Lives that white people tried to control. Today, we understand these stories to be what they are: a man fighting for his freedom and resisting enslavement in any way possible. The story of a man who finally got his freedom and was finally able to tell his story.
I can truly say that I have only one thing to lament over, and that is my bereft wife who is yet in bondage. If I only had her with me, I should be happy. Yet think not that I am unhappy. Think not that I regret the choice that I have made. Thanks be to heaven that I have got here at last. On yonder side of Detroit River, I was recognized as property. But on this side, I am on free soil. Hail Britannia! Shame America! Thanks be to God that I am elected to Canada, and if I don't live but one night, I am determined to die on free soil. Let my days be few or many, let me die sooner or later, my grave shall be made in free soil.
Lewis Richardson's story is one of hearsay backed with minimal evidence. Lewis Richardson may have exaggerated his experiences, or maybe not. Those that came to Henry Clay's aid were friends and employees, and were perhaps using lies to frame him in a positive light. For instance, how did Lewis Richardson kill an overseer and not get punished with death? We have to question whether this even happened, or if it did, how prominent was Lewis's role in it? If he was the instigator, why was he sold instead of punished, as would normally happen? We might never know exactly what happened at Ashland regarding Lewis Richardson, but we know those enslaved had to deal with the absolute worst of humanity, no matter how generous an enslaver believes himself to be. And that's what this story tells.